You know, for decades, we've known about the blueprint for every living thing, our genome. It's this incredible code that literally writes the story of life itself. The thing is, it's always been a language that we could see, but we couldn't really understand it. Well, today, we're diving into how a revolutionary type of AI is finally teaching us to read it, all based on a fantastic new review paper by Choi and Lee. Seriously, just think about that for a second. Our genome is basically a 3 billion letter book. It's got all the instructions for how to build and operate a human being. And yeah, we've been able to read the letters for a while now, but understanding the grammar, the context, the meaning behind it all, that has been a massive, massive challenge. And it's exactly the problem we're going to unpack today. All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll get a feel for just how huge and complex the genome's language really is. Then, we're going to meet the AI translator that's actually cracking the code. We'll see just how fast this whole revolution is spreading, check out some of the mind-blowing applications, and then, at the end, we'll ask the big question: what does this all mean for our future? Okay, so let's jump right into section 1 and talk about this grand challenge. How in the world do scientists even begin to make sense of this epic saga that's written in our DNA? Well, welcome to the world of bioinformatics. This is where biology meets big data. It's a field that treats our DNA not just as some molecule, but as a massive, incredibly complex data set. And if you want to find the subtle patterns hiding in all that data, the ones that control our health and disease, you need a tool that's just ridiculously powerful. You need AI. And that brings us to the hero of our story, the transformer model. Now, this AI was originally built by Google to understand human language. Think Google Translate. But then some researchers had this brilliant idea: wait a minute, if the genome is the language of biology, could this same AI learn to translate it? So the secret sauce behind the transformer is something called the attention mechanism. Here's a great way to think about it. Imagine you're reading a really long, dense paragraph. What do? You'd probably grab a highlighter and mark the most important phrases to get the main idea, right? That is exactly what the attention mechanism does. It teaches the AI how to zoom in on the most important parts of a long DNA sequence and just ignore all the background noise. So how does this work under the hood? Well, basically, for any given piece of our DNA, the AI asks a question, that's the query, and then it scans the entire sequence for relevant clues, which are the keys. When it finds a good match, it pulls out the really important information, the value. It's this super sophisticated way of figuring out which parts of our genetic code are talking to each other, even if they're millions of letters apart. And let me tell you, this is the real game changer. By using this attention mechanism, the transformer can look at an entire DNA sequence all at once. See, older AI models had to read it step by step, and they'd easily lose the big picture. But transformers, they can spot these hidden connections between genetic bits that are super far apart. And that's a huge, huge leap for understanding the complex grammar of our DNA. A transformer isn't just one of these attention layers either. It's a whole stack of them, one on top of the other. And each layer basically deepens the analysis, building on the insights from the layer before it. This structure is what lets the model see these incredibly complex and subtle patterns in the data. Patterns that, honestly, were pretty much invisible to us before. So once scientists got their hands on this amazing new tool, what happened? Well, the review paper by Choi and Lee maps out what can only be described as an absolute explosion of research. The numbers here tell a really dramatic story. Back in 2019, there were just 4 papers published on this topic. 4! By 2021, that number jumped to 32. And then in 2022, it exploded to 59 papers. This isn't just slow, steady growth. This is a field that's on fire. It's a clear sign that researchers immediately saw the massive potential here. And this research isn't just happening in some obscure corner of science. It's being published in the absolute top-tier journals in the field, like Briefings in Bioinformatics. This tells you that the work isn't just happening fast, it's also high-quality stuff that the scientific community is recognizing as a major step forward. Okay, so all of this research is really fascinating, but it all leads to one big question. What can these AI models actually do? Let's get into the breakthrough applications that this review uncovered. The range of what these things can do is just incredible. From predicting exactly where a functional site is on a strand of DNA to forecasting how well CRISPR gene editing is going to work, they're being used to guess patient outcomes in diseases like cancer and even to predict how different drugs are going to interact with each other. The versatility is just
Wow.
So let's zoom in on precision medicine for a sec. Transformers are helping make things like CRISPR gene editing way safer because they're getting much better at predicting not just the effects you want, but also those unintended off-target ones. And in cancer research, you've got models with cool names like GAENET that can analyze genetic data to predict how a patient with a specific cancer might fare, helping doctors tailor treatments just for them. And they're also completely revolutionizing drug discovery. These models can predict how sensitive a cancer cell might be to a particular drug, which can seriously speed up the search for effective treatments. They're also being used to design better mRNA sequences for new therapies, and even to find powerful combinations of drugs that work better together than they do alone. And it's not just about medicine. Beyond that, transformers are helping us answer some of the most fundamental questions we have about biology. They're helping us understand the mysterious dark matter of our genome, things like non-coding RNAs. You've got models like transcluster that can identify different types of cells from really complex data, and others, like Target P 2.0, that are getting insanely good at predicting what a protein actually does just by looking at its sequence. So where is all of this going? I mean, this technology is clearly a massive leap forward. But, like any revolution, the road ahead still has its share of challenges. Okay, the promise is undeniable, right? These models can handle the insane scale of genomic data and find patterns we could never see before. But there are some hurdles. They need huge amounts of really good labeled data to learn from, which can be hard to come by. Also, biology is just incredibly complex, and these models cost a lot of computer power to run. The good news is, researchers are actively working on all of these things. But the final word from Choi and Lee's review is just overwhelmingly positive. As they put it themselves, this technology has greatly facilitated our understanding of the language of biology. So this isn't just a small improvement, it's a whole new lens that we can use to finally begin to read our own source code. And that leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on. For all of human history, discovery has been a uniquely human thing. But as AI gets better and better at reading the language of life, you really have to ask yourself, will the next huge medical breakthrough be discovered by a human mind or an artificial one?